All right, so here with Ronald Völker. And Ronald, we kind of sat down and did one of these chats. I think it was probably something like 10 years ago now, almost. I think another ETS round in Mülheim-Kärlich. And an awful lot's changed since then, I think, is a good way to reflect on it. So I guess opening up with some honesty from our side is that, you know, you and I have actually gone, I think, quite good friends since then. You know, we hang out a lot at the racetrack, and I was one of your support crew in the Worlds. But aside from that, I think, you know, I've learned a lot about you and seen how you've changed over that 10 years as well. And we think back to that time, and that's when you were with Yokomo. You had Umino as your mechanic. He was doing everything on the car for you. And then Umino left Yokomo. And I think we saw over Christmas sort of some Facebook messages from him to kind of actually for the first time sort of explain a bit behind it. But taking that aside, what was your feeling, your personal feeling when Umino left Yokomo? Did you think this is going to be a big change for me now?
I didn't see it coming. I think I won the previous year, we won the Worlds together. Yep. And Umino was probably the biggest part of this. And yeah, but I learned over all those years, you can't plan too far ahead in this business. I think in general in life. So I can't remember what I was really thinking. I knew it was going to change a lot. But at the same time, you're always looking forward. It's for everything in life. Yeah. You maybe suffer a bit, but you try to look forward all the time. Yeah.
And obviously, you know, since then, you obviously continued with Yokomo, and the team continued. And you know, in life, things always do continue. One person changes, but that doesn't stop everything else. And then it was around COVID time. I remember, I think you and I we were in a car somewhere, and you told me the first time that you were going to leave Yokomo and go to Mugen. Can you tell us a little bit about that decision? What led up to that decision point? Yeah, what made that choice?
First of all, I remember I was bringing you to the airport after I won ETS in Andernach, which was my last race with Yokomo. And I think the weeks before, I decided I need to change because nothing was looking forward, not promising, not much communication. I want to bash somehow, but at the same time, I was contacting Robert Peach. Yeah. And it took a bit to negotiate everything. And then and the good and funny part is I left on a high. So it was a bit uncertain, but at the same time, Mugen had an MTC2 coming out. And Robert is a good friend of mine already back then. And yeah, I remember it was something I didn't plan in life. It wasn't planned quite ahead of time. And a lot of things changed. I mean, Yokomo got sold. Yokobori left Yokomo, the original traditional Yokomo, in 2019. Also before this happened, after Umino, I was working with Hayato Matsusaki for 1.5 years. It was also amazing, a good friend of mine. And when they left to do RD4, it was also another change, a big change. And things were still, even when Yokobori left, you're looking forward. Yeah. You hope for the best, and things didn't turn out well, at least for me, for the year after. It wasn't about the car performance, as I said, left on a high, but at that time I was looking for something. I was going to be happy in life with it, and I'm now with the Mugen Psyche for more than 4 years. Yeah. And it's great, basically. I mean, what we have now here at the moment with the Mugen MTC2 at the prototype stage, pre-production stage, is amazing. And again, if I think back, the last interview about 10 years ago, not much is predictable. Yeah. And as I said, you try to do the best, you try to look forward, and now we're here. Yeah. I'm 40. I got a bit more weight since 10 years ago, and here we are.
So I think you've mentioned there, so you kind of got to the point where you wanted to move on, you were thinking about that. So was it a decision that you wanted to maybe think about a different challenge and then went to find Mugen, or was it that Mugen kind of approached you first and then that was the kind of route to go down?
What do you mean? Do you mean now back then? Or?
Yeah, back then, yeah.
Back then when I joined Yokomo?
Yeah.
The Worlds 2008 in Bangkok, it was the last race of Masami.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I knew, but Masami was, I think, 38. And I wasn't sure if they were looking for someone. I wasn't really thinking about it. I was still kind of young.
Yep.
I was second at the Worlds. Not many remember.
Yes.
It was the Worlds when Mark won. I always finished, I think, in everyone top 3, but I didn't manage to TQ or win a final. However, soon after, there was an offer on the table with the Yokomo, kind of replacing Masami,
Yep.
which is an honor. I mean, I knew the always a VHS.
Yep.
When he won the Worlds in 1987, we had it at home, and
Yes.
so everyone knows Masami from the magazines. I mean, back then without internet.
Yep.
And but I was still, even I won the Euros before and second at the Worlds, I wasn't really like a good mechanic back
Yep.
then. Like I knew how to drive, but I didn't really knew how to set up. And Yokomo was back then very small, and I got a lot of help by Umino, Robert Ito, and
Yep.
things from then worked on pretty good. We started small, and then we got a lot of success. We got a lot of drivers, customers for many years, and this was another great thing.
Yeah. So if you compare that time when you joined Yokomo, 2008, with when you joined Mugen, 2020, where were you kind of thinking? What was it the same motivations to join those two teams, or were there different motivations? Did you join Mugen now for a different reason as to why you'd kind of joined Yokomo all those years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I was always an LRP driver from 2005 actually on, in 2006 with a full package, and back then it was like let's say really looking forward from being a very good hot bodies driver. Yep. But I was in the hierarchy behind Andy Moore, who was world champion 2006 and legendary at Tsushihara, and it was just a completely different approach. Yeah. And now it was something I wasn't happy with how things were going 2020. I tried to work it out and to do better, but in the end it was a completely different approach and thinking. Also, I was 11 years older. Yep. But the motivation is always the same. It doesn't matter if it's I'm 20, 30, 40. Motivation is always there, and even other things in life changes. Mm-hmm. The approach at the track to be there, trying to do well, to win, never changes. Yeah.
So now thinking about that team you've built with Mugen, I guess, as well. You and Robert have kind of really built that team. So people sort of now start to say, is Robert your new Umino? And in many ways, you sort of see the two of you working at the track in a very similar way, with him preparing the car a lot of the time for you. But it feels like you've got much more input into the work he's doing, and I think you're chatting an awful lot at the track and away from the track too. What changed was when I joined Yokomo, I wasn't really good at giving feedback or having input, knowing what to do. So this is something over the years with Umino, I finally understand it's not only about driving, it's also about giving good feedback, improving wherever you can. When you're young, you don't think everything through. You just go and drive. Yeah. And this is something what changed on my side. In the end, the communication is better from my side, but at the same time, Umino was the main guy for his platform, for the BD platform, and Robert is it for the MTC platform. Mm-hmm. And basically, I changed more rather than it was something else. I mean, communication was maybe difficult in the first 2 years with Umino, but his English improved a lot. My English improved a lot over the traveling. Yep. Yeah, it's also basically the main difference, I would say. In the end, you try to win as a team. Yes. You can win alone in electric because you don't need a pitman, but at the same time, it's always a team game. It doesn't matter if it's about the car, about electronics, about your teammates and friends. In the end, you're not driving. You drive alone on the driver's end, but you're not driving alone before and after the run. Yeah. And last couple of questions on racing before we move on to your life outside of racing. Obviously, Mugen is a very different team. It's growing now, and we've seen it growing. And as you've mentioned, you've got the new prototype MTC3, which has got a lot of interest in it and some really good results over the last races, which is helping. How have you seen that sort of change, and has that changed the way you've approached racing? You know, going from Yokomo, which was a big team and a big company, to Mugen, which is much smaller and you know, maybe almost focused around you sometimes. You haven't always had even like a number 2 driver kind of to support you in some cases.
Those are kind of many different things. I mean, now also, as I'm older, you also understand the business more. You understand it's not only about performance and driving.
Yeah.
You're going to make sure that the car is performing well, but also performing well for the other team drivers, for the customers, for the hobby drivers, and there are there's a lot of bigger pictures. Yokomo wasn't a huge team or company, but Mugen is even smaller, so things are just different. And first of all, you try to have the performance of the car, but everything needs to work out well.
Yeah.
And now it took a bit of time for our MTC3, but it gets a lot of attention, as you notice now, and a lot of innovation, and I can't wait to have it for everybody.
Yeah. And then my final question, or maybe a couple of questions on racing then, is you've had that big change going from Yokomo, well, firstly from hot bodies to Yokomo and then to Mugen. But the consistent part of all of that, and you can't touch on this, has been LRP. That's been your second sponsor the entire way through it, and in fact even your main sponsor when you're with hot bodies. You've also got the relationship with Jürgen, the boss of LRP, and you've had that relationship also, I think, through that whole time as well. How important has that been, do you think, to your actual racing program and your successes you've had?
There's a very big influence. Of course, if you also work in total of 20 years, in the first few years, not fully or all the time with Jürgen. It was also Rita Koenig, who was there for like the first 6 years I was there. And like I say, it's not only about the car, it's about the package as well. And I usually, as you can probably see now in my history, I don't move too much of every sponsor. It's not my thinking or something. If I'm happy with things, we continue, and I'm trying to help people who are helping me in exchange. And it's been a very long and part of my life as well. And LRP actually got me a sponsorship back in 2005, 2006, joining from as a Tamiya Team Orion driver. I joined LRP and hot bodies, and suddenly, immediately, I was in a World's A-main. This was something I couldn't think of. I think half a year before the Worlds, I wasn't even sure how I can manage to participate. Yeah. And then with a lot of help of hot bodies, LRP, Andy Kramer, Rita Koenig, somehow I managed to drive with in the same final as all the other legends, including Masami.
Which is must be a big step up and a big sort of wow moment for you as well.
There's always some step ups throughout the career, but from making it to a possible A-main finalist, or let's say B-main finalist in Germany or Europe, suddenly I was a World's A-main. It was also the beginning of brushless.
Yes.
And but still, at that time, I didn't have really a clue about how to wrench. Yeah. So I could drive it, but this is how it's also different now. Now I try to help people who are like the age I had back then, when they do like, I don't know, mistakes or something. But I always knew or always know that I was not better when I was that age. Yeah.
So let's move on to talking about your family and life outside of RC now. And again, that's been another thing that you'd expect will have changed since 10 years, the last time we kind of spoke like this. Obviously now you're married, you have a daughter as well. How do you think that sort of world outside of RC has changed you when you come to a racetrack?
I mean, at the race, it's always like you're focused, and you're really thinking about RC. But I remember last weekend when I started P2 at the GP3F in Longwy behind Orlovsky in front of Mark. The traction was in A1 and A2, finished 4th in the end still, but I came home and my daughter was crying because she woke up, and then when I had her on me, and it was like a completely different feeling. I was like the really important part of life. And still not much change, like I said, in the racing program, but it's just a bit of a different let's say approach between events. But it's something I think called experience or something. It's usually you mature, some more, some less, and yeah, it's a life which I didn't expect it before, and it's just great.
Yeah. And I think you touched on that. You know, we have to remember, and a lot of people maybe don't realise this. This is your job. Racing is your job. In the same way that people get up and go to the office or do whatever they do as their job, this is still what you have to do. And you know, you then have a life outside of this as well. And I think that's really important. And people often don't recognise that there is that line between Ronald goes home on a Sunday night from a race, and yes, wants to spend time with his family on your new weekend, which is maybe Monday or Tuesday or something. Having a young family as well, does that mean you are thinking of racing a bit less than you have done in the past, or maybe less long haul travels, less to Asia or something like that? Or actually from your perspective, do you think actually you're still racing the same as you have done?
It's a bit more difficult to organize. Mm-hmm. Still, I would like to do a lot of races. But at the same time, yeah, it's a part of being a professional driver and trying to be successful. There's a lot more. You want to do well with the development, with everything which comes through for Mugen, for LRP, for my other sponsors. And at the same time, you need to make sure happy wife, happy life.
Yes.
And this is something challenging, but at the same time, the whole package with family I see is great, but nobody says the life is easy.
Yeah.
And therefore, yeah, it's difficult, but it's working out. It's as you said, it's a job. Yep. It's a different kind of job.
Yep.
It's some things are more important, some less, and it's not a 9-to-5 job. It's sometimes you do things in the morning, in the night, rather than just throughout the day.
Yeah.
And this has to work, and it's working. And let's see what the future brings.
Yeah. So we've seen a lot of change in the market. We've seen a lot of change in drivers, I guess, as well over the time. You know, we've seen drivers who've come onto the scene, like Michael and things like that. We've seen drivers who have maybe dropped off of the scene as well. In that, you've been fairly consistent. You're always somebody that's going to challenge for the podium places. But I think it's fair to say over the last few years, you haven't got the same number of wins that you've had in the past. Really blunt question here. Is the time for wins for Ronald over yet, or is there more on the horizon?
No, for sure. When you're not that successful anymore, you try to understand why is it like this. Is it because of yourself? Yeah. Which for sure adopted in between, but in the end, if you have the package, if you got the package right to be the best, and now Orlovsky is in his prime.
Yeah. And
you can beat him, mm-hmm. but you need to have everything also. Well, I mean, they got. Michael is working really hard.
Yep.
He's practicing a lot, testing a lot. He got the Schumacher car really well. And this is something challenging, but at the same time also love to be in the mix. Mm-hmm. And this is something, yeah, technically the age wouldn't help me, but at the same time it's still something you can do. Yeah. And in general, yeah, you're right. I won technically more Euros or titles before, but everything is getting, wouldn't say more professional, mm-hmm. but everything is fast now. It's aerodynamic, and nobody is really like sandbagging or something. Yep. It's like we go so much faster on every track, and like I said, if Orlovsky or Bruno is stepping up the game, Mark and me, we are right there. Yep. And yeah, our age is not helping, but it's still amazing to be there. Yeah.
What's next for you then? Where do we see Ronald? If we sit down again in maybe not 10 years' time, but maybe a couple of years' time, what do you think the conversation would be then?
I don't know. I hope everybody stays healthy. I hope maybe I have a few kilograms less of weight. But then I'm not 100% sure. So I think. As I said now in the beginning, from 10 years ago, predicting life for the next 10 years, it's difficult, and I think this is about it. It's about life. You can't think for the next 5-10 years. Things can happen to the positive and negative, yeah. And then just see.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to following you on that journey, wherever it's going to take us all over the next few years. Thank you very much for your time today. Really appreciate you talking to us. Really appreciate you being open and honest with us as well. thank you very much. Good luck with racing, life and everything else. Thank you.
Thank you very much.